All right, so it's a little bit after 7. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Unionville High School ninth grade Gifted Education Transition Meeting. I'm so glad that you're here to join us this evening. Just to take a minute to introduce who's here, my name is Katie Delgado, and I'm the Gifted Support Teacher at Unionville High School. And we also have Ms. Shannon Brown. She's the Supervisor of Secondary Special Education at the district office. And I'm going to go ahead and give you an overview of tonight's program, just so you know what to expect. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what the Gifted Support Program looks like at the high school. We're going to discuss different considerations for course selection. We'll touch upon activities and student life. And then if you have any questions general to the program, you can submit them in the Q&A tab, and those would be seen by everybody, and I will answer those at the end of the program. I'm also dropping into the chat right now a Google form. If you would like, you can fill out this form. It just provides me with information about you, about your student. And if you have any specific questions or concerns that you would like me to know about, or you would like me to address about your student, this would be the appropriate form to use. So I'm going to go send that out right now. And feel free to complete it. If you don't want to, that's also fine. So moving on to just an overview of the Gifted Support Program at the high school. So the Gifted Support Program has two main functions at the high school. So the first part is that it supports students who have academic needs beyond the regular curriculum. So a GIEP team, which I work with, will develop a plan that provides acceleration or enrichment when appropriate. And this team meets on a yearly basis to help to make sure that student needs of students who have GIEPs are being met in an appropriate manner. The Gifted Support Program is open to all students who have been identified as gifted at some point in their schooling, and it's a resource program, and it's designed to meet students' needs in a number of ways. So we do offer one class through this program. It's called Higher Order Thinking Skills and affectionately referred to as HOTS. It's the only gifted support course offered at the high school, and again, it's for ninth graders. We'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like later in the program. In addition with the Gifted Resource Program, I'm available as a support person to your gifted student and to you throughout the 4 years of high school. And we'll talk a little bit about what that looks like. Okay, so what can the gifted support teacher do to support my student? So obviously we have the more structured piece of the GIEP. So I am responsible for maintaining the GIEP, making sure that it's being implemented, and making sure that the students' needs are being met by classroom teachers in terms of their goals and needs. I can also provide support to students in a variety of different ways. And the list that I created is just based on what I've done this past year. It changes every year based on the students' needs and the needs of the parents, but this is generally where I spend my time. So I work with students on time management, handling pressure, creative problem solving, self-efficacy, and self-advocacy. That last piece is something I've worked on a lot with this past year with students, handling a challenging course teacher or schedule. I'm the liaison to and the resource person for all things gifted to all the general education teachers in the building. I help plan and implement academic competitions, and I support students who participate in contests, whether that's helping them submit, reading their essays, or supporting them along the way. I provide students and parents with information about summer institutes and opportunities. I collaborate closely with the counseling department to help students to maximize scheduling opportunities and to plan for college and provide admissions support. I also plan visits to colleges for students. We actually just got back from a trip to Villanova, and these are great opportunities for students to see what they like about a school and maybe what they don't like. I collaborate closely with the middle school and elementary school gifted teachers for mentorship opportunities. And we actually just got back from a trip from Chadds Ford Elementary where the high school students work with the elementary school gifted students on some STEM enrichment. And then I also do some partnership with local organizations, UHS alumni, and field experts to bring them to the classroom, whether it's via Zoom or individual meetings with students or via in person to talk about their careers and help students as they discover their own career paths. So there is a gifted support room, and students can use it in a variety of times. It's located in room 132. So if you've ever been in the high school, it's the first floor, the same floor as where the cafeteria is located, and it's in the foreign language hallway. So it's kind of tucked back in there. The room is open for some study hall periods and in between classes, depending on my schedule. And students can access the room anytime they have a study hall, if they're in a blended asynchronous period, or during lunch and learn. Many of our students eat lunch in that room, and they're welcome to bring friends. Students can report directly to the gifted support room during these times, and I take care of their attendance. So they don't even have to go to their study hall teacher or to their blended teacher. They can come directly to me. The room will be closed during my HOTS class when I'm teaching at the middle school, or if there are other times I'm unable to supervise. The room has lots of resources, so that could be any kind of school resource that a student can imagine. So paper, pencils, scissors, a variety of different things. Computers, there's tables for working collaboration, comfy chairs, a mini library, and even a printer. So how do students use the gifted support room? So it really depends on the student, on the day, and on their needs. The main thing that I see is student collaboration, and that can be collaboration with their peers, whether it's in a club, whether it's studying, whether it's working through a really tough problem from a challenging class, but there's a lot of collaboration that happens in that room. Some students use it as a place to decompress. So they might play board games, they might read, they might hang out and talk to friends. And then it's also a time for me to meet with students, whether they have initiated that or whether I have reached out to the students to check in on them. This is a great time for me to give feedback, whether they're working on college applications, they're preparing for contests, or they're looking for resources otherwise. So lots of different things happen in the gifted support room. It's a great place. So the other facet of the program is that one class that we do offer called Higher Order Thinking Skills. And you can see on this slide, there's a number of quotes from students who have taken the class, things that they've appreciated about it. I'm not going to read them for you. I know you could probably read them. But just to give you a little bit of more in-depth overview of what the class is about. So there's a couple of things that I like to focus on. So I like students to think about who they are as learners. So what are my strengths? What are some areas for growth? And how can I help to guide myself to be the most productive, most successful learner that I can be? So we talk about organization, we talk about study skills, we talk about how to take notes and how to listen to lectures. We talk about how to take care of yourself. So mindfulness, how to make sure that you're spending time recharging and not always working, which is definitely a challenge for some of our gifted students. So that has been a real focus for me in the past couple of years. And then we also do something called the Genius Hour Project, which is really a wonderful opportunity for students. So in the beginning of the class, they get to think about topics that they're really interested in that maybe aren't covered in the general education curriculum. And then they can choose to take a deep dive into that topic in a research-based way. So students throughout the project have an opportunity to present their ideas as, hey, I want to investigate this to their peers. So they learn presentation skills. They have to interview an expert in their field. So they learn about interviewing, they learn about how to kind of analyze the data and pull the most important information from it. And then they really do a deep dive in terms of their research and they present their final findings to the class. This past year, I had such a wide variety of student projects. I had everything from service dogs to a student who taught herself American Sign Language to a student who just wanted to know about the history of tennis. So it really is whatever the student wants. This is an opportunity for them to really spend some time looking at a topic of interest to them. Okay, so we're going to move on to course selection, and these are just some considerations as you move forward, and it's important for ninth grade, but also for all 4 years of high school. So there are so many opportunities in terms of course selection that are available to UHS students. We really have a wonderful academic setting at the high school. Do keep in mind that every student is different. They're all going to have different paths that they're going to take, and there's no one way to guarantee success. So it's important that when students are scheduling their classes, they're thinking about their strengths and what is going to bring them the most joy. Do know that students in every grade have access to honors classes, and beginning in 10th grade, they may also enroll in advanced placement classes. Students also have the opportunity to choose blended courses. Blended courses are especially popular with some of our gifted students because they have a nice balance of in-person and asynchronous learning. And that just means that on some days students are learning online and some days students are in the classroom. The days that the students are working asynchronously, their teacher is also available for office hours for them to meet. Students who do choose blended classes can come to the AT room to work during asynchronous days, and many of our students do that. In addition to the requirements that students must choose for their classes, the high school also has a really challenging and engaging additional curriculum of electives that students can choose. So we have AP Music Theory, AP Art History, AP Computer Science, just to name a few. We have awesome foods classes, and our technology department has really amazing Project Lead the Way honors engineering courses. I'm sure you have probably heard about some of these options during course selection night. And then many of our gifted students also participate in either music or advanced art classes. Some considerations for students who are going to be ninth graders next year: they are required to take health and PE in ninth grade. High school credit will only be granted for courses passed while the student is enrolled in classes taken at the high school. Courses taken at the middle school cannot be repeated at the high school for credit unless the prerequisite to advance was not met. Classes should be scheduled according to each student's abilities. So again, it's important to remember what your student is really great at and maybe what might be a little bit more challenging, and schedule according to those needs. And then many students elect to have a study hall during the day. And especially for gifted students who are taking, a really rigorous course load with many honors classes, I highly advise a study hall. It's a great way to transition into the high school. Students could again come to my room for that time, and it really helps them to balance their workload nicely. Another consideration to think about is not just the time spent in school, but also the time spent outside of school. So our teachers have kind of given us a general sense of how many hours each class would take for homework each week. So it's important to think about if your student is taking, maybe a number of honors courses, and say they're taking 3 honors courses, that might be an additional number of hours of work outside of the classroom. When students are also engaged in extracurriculars, and we want to make sure there's time for dinner and family time and sleeping, all of these numbers do affect their mental health. So we just want to make sure that the whole picture is considered when they're scheduling their classes. And then lastly, this is the bell schedule for the high school. It looks a little different from the middle school, and it's really nice because everyone's on the same schedule. So our first 3 classes are in the beginning of the day, and then we have a period in the middle called Lunch and Learn, which is an hour for students to eat their lunch, to meet with teachers, to have club meetings, to work on homework. It's really an awesome time in the middle of the day for them to kind of recharge and make sure that they get any individual questions answered from the teachers. And then we have the remaining 4 periods of the day with the dismissal at 2:43. And this is all available on the high school website. Okay, so the next part of our presentation will be student life and student activities. And again, what I'm kind of choosing to cover is what I've seen from students who are in the gifted program. This is not an exhaustive list of how students are involved, but this is just the activities that tend to come up again and again with the students I work with. So students are involved in so many different ways at the high school. We have just every activity I feel like that you can think of. And there's a very exhaustive brochure on the high school website that tells you a little bit about each club and the club leader and who the advisor is. It's really great. Many of our students choose to participate on the academic competition team. So if your student participated in the Knowledge Bowl in middle school, this would be a great opportunity for them. And tryouts are in September. So just keep an eye out. I always advertise it to students. Many of our students who are interested in math join the math club, and they have the opportunity to participate in a variety of really prestigious competitions. And many of our students qualify and move forward through those. Speech and debate continues to be very popular at the high school. Various Olympiads are offered. This year I ran 3 through the Gifted Resource Program. So we offer chemistry, biology. I offered a linguistics Olympiad this year, and when there's enough interest, I also offer a physics Olympiad. Linguistics was added because a student approached me because she was interested in it. So if there's something that isn't offered that a student's interested in getting off the ground, that's something that we can absolutely talk about. Many of our students are in the fall or the spring plays, and the musical is always popular. There's many musical organizations. So in particular with band, there's a popular indoor drumline, the marching band, color guard. There's various choral groups. The Technology Student Association, or TSA for short, is a group of students that actually participate in STEM-oriented competitions, and it was started by 2 students in the gifted program. There are many service clubs to choose from. Future Business Leaders of America is a popular club, Best Buddies, the Unionville Post, which is our student-run newspaper for which I'm the advisor. So just a little shout out if your student is interested in writing. There's lots of different sections that can get them involved. The International Club takes a trip every year to a cool location. I think Thailand is coming up. There's peer tutoring, student council, the Blue and Gold yearbook, and lastly but not least, TEDx Unionville High School, which is a TED-oriented event that was actually created by a student in the gifted program. So we continue running that every year. Lots of opportunities. These are just a few pictures of students in the Gifted Resource Program in action. So lots of fun things going on. Here are a few more pictures. Do want to point out, we were able to have a journalist Zoom from NPR Zoom in with us and give a talk, as well as we had some in-person speakers this year. Okay, so if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Here is my email, kdeldato@ucfsd.net. And I do not see any questions in the Q&A. I'll give it a couple minutes if you want to drop any in. If not, thank you so much for joining us this